I like that song. I like how it ends really suddenly. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hopefully that wasn't too bad of a jump scare. That might be like the longest I've ever let the... That might be the longest I've ever let the music go in the beginning. I usually only give you like 5 minutes, but today you got a little longer. Oh boy, oh boy. Indeed, Kitty. Hi, Drea. Hello. What's up, Psychoplebeian? And what's up to the YouTube chat? YouTube chat's a little bit more active today. We've got Cursed Chaos and Turtlebird Me, Curse, and Mira, and Dali. Hello. Yes, exactly. Cursed Chaos says, remember to like the stream, or strem. It's completely free. It is free. Work. I feel bad. And one of the things that I do when I feel bad is I try to make myself cute. So I thought maybe that's just how we'll start the beginning of the stream. Is like, okay, first of all, I started with my hair up from when I put it up last night. So now it's like, okay, let's find out. How does it, I don't know. She's curly. I don't know if we're happy with the curls, but they're certainly doing something. Like the strem or you get phlegm. True. So, okay, no, she looks better on this side, as usual. Which kind of makes me feel like I should do this. Or should it be the other way? Yeah, you can see my hair better if it's like this. And you look very nice today, showing off some very clean line work on your shoulder. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I love this tattoo. Sometimes I feel like maybe I would like to get it shaded. I'm experiencing that thing where like I've moved away and I do love the stream picture. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't feel good. But I'm experiencing that thing where I've moved 2,000 miles away. Okay, let me try to think. I had my first 2 tattoos done at a shop that had a pretty high turnover. So technically my first 3 tattoos, because 2 of them I got in one setting. I got the semicolon at the same time that I got this one on my arm. So it was not a huge deal to get both of them at the same time. This one's just 2 dots, basically. But, so I have no idea. I don't remember their names. Whoever. But my most recent 2 tattoos, which is this one and one on my leg that I got, they were by an artist who I'm like, oh, I like him. It's him and his wife. They run a tattoo shop together. And now I'm like, oh, man. Do I know that there's some work that I want done, but am I gonna literally wait and schedule way far in advance in order to get my same tattoo artist or his wife? I haven't had any work done by his wife, and I would kind of like to. I want to get a cover up for the one on my shoulder, not the one up here in the front, the one on my back. And I want it to be a sunflower, and I'm like, well, she does flowers, and I kind of want to get some work done by both of them. But yeah, literally, I'm going to be in Kansas in September. Am I going to make an appointment now and take the time out of my visit which is going to include seeing my family and seeing my friends? Am I going to take time out of that probably pretty brief visit to have that tattoo done? Sad to hear you're not feeling good. Anything we can do to cheer you up? I'm kind of thinking that we are just gonna chit chat today and that I will inevitably feel better through the process of just kind of gab. I'm hoping that my voice doesn't get too sore. It's definitely still kind of sensitive, but it's still we're at very high levels of grass pollen and moderate levels of tree pollen right now. So there are way more trees here and more plants, and so the allergies are really kind of hitting me. So I'm hoping my voice doesn't hurt too bad. But the plan is to go for at least a few hours and, just, and like I said, I have my caboodle here. I recently organized all of my jewelry, which you might have noticed this little guy right here. This is something that Mama Mephistopheles made for me, and she hasn't been able to hang out and stream as much recently because she got a really awesome job at a nonprofit where she lobbies the Texas legislature to stop doing inhumane shit. But she made that for me and sent it to my P.O. box when I used to have a P.O. box, and now it's up here because it's a little bit too big for me to like wear. But anyway, I organized all my jewelry because I'm kind of imagining like I'm about to start working in an office job. So I'm like, I kind of want to like wear jewelry. And oh no, where is it? I have made myself a mask jewelry. I have like a bunch of little lengths of chain, and I borrowed some of my husband's pliers and put some lobster clasps on it so that it will just clasp to like it'll clasp to the rubber part of the mask. I'm having a hard time coming up with a word for that right now. But yeah, it'll just hang there across like the bridge of the nose. But I also have all my earrings ready. Ooh, bones. Y'all remember my bones earrings? This, I believe, this is a muskrat jawbone. And then I have a regular rat jawbone. These ones are much smaller. You can see there's a size difference here. Elastic, yeah, but like the headband part is what I was trying to say. Like the very edges of the headband part, it's supposed to latch onto. Yeah, Kitty is having the same thing. It's like, yeah, I'm about to travel 1,200 miles to see my artist. Is that bone earring very heavy? No, not really. Well, okay, so obviously, like, the muskrat is heavier. I don't know. Let me pick up one of my jewelries that is heavy. Like, okay, this guy, these dragon cuffs, which you've seen before if you watched one of my videos. But it's like, this is an ear cuff, and it loops over, and it's quite heavy, and, like, it pulls on the top part of your ear. It's like, how... Yeah, the bone is not nearly as heavy as this. Bone, I mean, like, if you think about what bone is made out of, it's, like, full of bone marrow, right? But when the bones are dried, there's, like, not all of that wet inside the bone. So it really is actually quite, it's quite porous and lightweight. Like, I mean, like, compared to something metal of a similar size is basically what I'm trying to say. You see what I mean here? Like, they're pretty similar size. Anyway. So, just like, organized all my shit so that I know where to find everything. I recently learned, so these are called, oh my god, my hair looks crazy. These people describe these as being, like, gauge-friendly earrings, and I'm like, what does that mean? And it's because you can unlatch it and then latch it into your, this actually goes on this side. You could latch it into your open hoop. Like, this is an open hoop gauge, and I can just like snap it shut. And so technically I can wear regular earrings in my gauge. But that's like why I got my other set of ear piercings, was so that I could put regular earrings on. But I kind of just didn't know about these clasps before, and that's cool. Where can I sign up for the nonprofit? I know, Cursed Chaos. Ooh, okay, so I will say, okay, this is actually a valuable political point that I'm going to expand on right now. I have recently had this, like, crisis of, like, I like, want to work, like, doing something that is, has more tangible, like, positive results, I think, is like what the underlying problem is. So working for a nonprofit or working for an environmental agency or something like those, that's where my brain has been. And I got some really valuable advice recently that I think everybody here could probably listen to, which is that you need to take the existing skills that you have and figure out how to apply them to the thing that you want to do. Like, I have a bunch of skills in social media. Technically, all of that is a skill. It's a marketing skill. So I can use that marketing skill and work for a nonprofit or a company that has similar values to me, for example, and like contribute to their mission by applying the skills that I have. Like, we can't be everywhere at once. It's not feasible for all of us to like go back to school to get the degree, to get the job that we think is the job that is the most necessary job, right? If you're good at math, if you've ever worked with QuickBooks or finances, nonprofits need people to handle their finances. So it's because I keep, thank you, John Get 1 second. I've been telling people for forever, like, I'm trying to get people motivated, and I will suggest things like go to a protest, a peaceful protest, like make a little sign, whatever. I've like been like, contact your representatives. I've suggested to you all that you volunteer for campaigns that you support by phone banking or knocking on doors or whatever. Like, all of those things are like ways to get involved. But really what it's about is like finding your strength. Like, you know, let's just even look at the volunteering for a campaign. You could phone bank or you could text bank. If you know for sure that you can't do phone calls, okay, well, that's not one of your strengths. Your strength is you can text bank, or you can help clean up the office, or you can hand out flyers or something, right? But there's something in there that you can contribute. What's up, Young? How's it going? Yes, sorry, you are omnipresent. My bad. John Get Bent, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Our first donation for today. Enjoy your fun color. John Get Bent, you usually comment on like YouTube and not so much on the website, I think. But anyway, maybe I'm remembering wrong. But anyway, if you comment on the website, have fun with your fun colored name and your favorite custom emojis over here. That's a $5 donation. If you're just coming in, we're just kind of hanging out right now. We generally do talk about in-depth political stuff at some point during the show. I just don't have any particular plans today because I don't know what news happened this week. And we didn't have any particularly dumb callers on Takis this week. So like sometimes what I'll do on Sundays is kind of like talk about what the show was like on Takis this week. I'm not going to be on Takis next week, so I won't have that content. And then I have no idea what June is looking at. Someone asked me just a minute ago about Pride. It's been a while. Hi, the guy who could. Are you ready for Pride Month? Yeah, I think that this year has, yes, Young. I do have a website like Riverboat Jack. Yes, totally. Feel free to pop over. I feel like the year is kind of sneaking past me, and like I'm accomplishing a lot less than I would like to accomplish. I'm like not doing even things that I want to be doing, which I think is to say that I am depressed or maybe dealing with some kind of like, I think maybe autistic burnout or something. I don't know. Guys, like I'm struggling, right? I'm having a hard time getting things done in my day-to-day life. I feel like I'm just like grinding to a halt. This week, I've had to use these a bunch. Okay, so these are like professional grade noise suppression. It's not like noise canceling headphones where it's like making a sound to counteract the noise that's coming in. These are just a physical barrier for your ears, right? People use these to like grind concrete and like run heavy machinery and stuff like that, like where you're sitting inside the heavy machinery. And I bought these to use at the gun range, which is very loud if you've ever been in an indoor gun range. And I've been having to wear these this week because of stuff like people doing yard work, like mowing the lawn and like hearing my neighbors and stuff. Like it has been overwhelming recently. It's just like, okay, suddenly in my 30s, I'm losing my grip on like all of my autism symptoms apparently. And I'm like freaking out and having the urge to like stim. This is what I do. I make a fist or like clench my hand over and over again. It's been so rough. And I don't really know what the problem is except like a general sensation of being overstimulated. And I'm honestly starting to wonder if this is part of the problem that so many neurodivergent people have with social media is like, am I actually like overstimulating myself with social media? Even on like, I have a fluff Instagram where I only follow like cute accounts or like local accounts or like environmental accounts. Like it's supposed to be my kind of not political space, or at least not trans political space. And even that I think is like overwhelming. So yeah, I'm considering like, do I just need like a few days of bed rest where I have no stimulation, where I just like sit there, and maybe just like read a book. Ooh, because here's the thing. I have been getting back into reading books. I think it's really good for you. Okay, Drea says I avoid most social media because of overstimulation. Okay, yeah. Excuse me. Ooh, Kitty dropping some information. Our bones and blood are full of metals, calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, and other minerals. Most are oxides, which is why they have a lower weight or are not particularly dense like calcium. Bones and seashells are made from calcium carbonate specifically, and abalone make abalone make weirdly strong versions of it. I don't know what that is. Anyway, that's good info. I like that. I like the Isotones brand versions where it's that and also Bluetooth headphones. Yeah, my husband was saying that he has some Samsung brand like noise isolating headphones that he uses as just like those are his phone headphones, or actually he might even use them for his computer too, because he has like he gets headaches from wearing over ear headphones, so he got in ear ones, and he was like those are pretty good. I would recommend them. So I am considering noise canceling headphones as well because of the fact that I want to still listen to something. Like, I might want to be entertained, but while also not being able to hear all of this other shit. Bed rest and cozy games. Yeah, I suppose. But it's like the games themselves can be overstimulating. Like World of Warcraft, sometimes overstimulating. And I'll play it for a couple hours and then I have to stop. I can't actually do all day video games anymore because I think it's just like, oh man, this is just a lot of work, actually. I have tea, though. I have tea in my Takis cup. Leave trans people the F alone. I need to use headphones, but it makes me anxious to not be able to hear anything. Yeah, there are, like, modes where, like, you can turn on pass-through. If you're at home and you can turn off the pass-through, but then if you're going for a walk, you can turn on the pass-through so that, like, if someone talks to you, you can hear it. I tend to spend a huge chunk of my time hiding from the world inside of books. Yeah. So my plan is to read The Bridge to Terabithia next, but I did get a book recently that I'm excited about. Like, this one is just like I'm rereading it because it's been a long time and I want to experience it again. But I just got a new book that you all may have heard of before because there was like a Tumblr post that was going around about it. And I've seen this Tumblr post multiple times, which makes me think that it's something that may have crossed people's timeline at least once. So this is called On Looking, A Walker's Guide to the Art of Observation. And it's basically like the author of the book, Alexandra Horowitz, I think at the time lived in Manhattan. And she goes on a walk around the neighborhood with 11 different experts, including an urban sociologist, an artist, a geologist, a physician, and a sound designer. And it's like going on a walk with the intent of having these people point things out. And so I'm really interested in this book, like, you know, just how once you like learn something about a thing, then suddenly you're looking for it more, if that makes any sense. So it's like, you know, it's a way to continue to be mindful of our surroundings and be observant of them, even when we're like not experts in that. But it's I think basically a way to be more present, which is why I'm interested. So yeah, gonna check that book out eventually. I don't really have like a specific plan for when I'm gonna start reading it, except for like after Bridge to Terabithia. My partner decided that we're having a charcuterie date tonight. So that's what I'm doing after stream. Trying to think if there's anything else like interesting going on with me right now. I don't like seal forming earbuds ever since I had impacted earwax followed by a swimmer's ear after they were cleared out. Good gracious. That sounds terrible. Yeah, my partner doesn't like in-ear hearing protection, like over-the-ear hearing protection like this, but then there's like the ones that you squeeze and you like put it inside your ear canal. He doesn't like those. Young Black Economist, welcome to the website. Introduction. I'm Black, queer, trans, and be normally in the YouTube chat. Good to meet you all. Yes. Hello. Welcome to the website. Yes. Website's for the cool kids. We like to hang out. We like to chill. I don't know where my ear hole is. I'm realizing that like I don't ever take out or put in. Well, that's not true. I take out my gauge ones when I'm in the shower, but I usually don't mess with the other piercings unless I have a mirror to see what I'm doing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Wasn't entirely pain-free, but I did do it. Is it backwards? Did I do it backwards? Yes, I did do it backwards. Okay, it's supposed to be on the other side. My boss bought me a pair of Bose headphones that are like $700, so I definitely couldn't have bought them myself, but they're incredible. Oh yeah, for noise canceling and pass-through. I definitely hear good things about Bose, and my partner does have a pair of Bose, but he was like, yeah, you could spend like $300, but you could also just like get these other ones, and it would be fine. Are these ones? Okay, I don't know how these are supposed to fit, it turns out. Hello, Mosh. Welcome in. We're kind of just doing a low-key stream right now because I have not been feeling good. So, I've also been just like symptomatic. So, imagine being overstimulated and also one of your medical problems is that you get overheated easily all the time every day. It's like, would you feel like your life is kind of hell? Because that's kind of how I feel. Ugh. Okay, is this even on right? Okay, yes. Okay, they just face outward. That's what they do. Now I can put the other one on. Kitty says, I'm struggling with the fact that I have spent years training my algorithm to give me tech news and good environmental news. What has now happened is I have this problem of I go from super positive and happy about something to completely blindsided by the next piece of garbage societal issue that is being ignored. My dad was right. He says, careful taking off those blinders too young. They can protect you from yourself. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. Like, I think that that's the problem that we all have with, and this is why social media is addictive. This is why people are complaining about it in that way where they're like, this is a serious problem. It's because, you know, it creates a dopamine cycle where you're like, I mean, if y'all know the Bo Burnham song, it kind of perfectly encapsulates this, like that you see a recipe and then you see a violent act and then you see a kitten and then you see something random that you don't understand and then you see an advertisement. Actually, probably you see more advertisements in the middle of all of that than I have just stated, but you know what I'm trying to say? It's like your little Gooner thumbnail. Is it a Gooner thumbnail? It kind of just was like, meh, meh. But I'll take it. If Gooners want to come in, you know, I'll take the attention. Attention is one of those things that can make you feel better when you're feeling bad, which is why I still go on stream when I feel bad, because you all are going to give me attention. That's not actually why. It's because I need to hold to a schedule and this is my job. And sometimes you have to do your job even when you feel bad. I was trying to explain trans stuff to my neighbor yesterday, Republican, when I mentioned Florida stripping access of people needing hormones. Oh, sorry, and people needing hormones if they have removed their gonads. She basically said, "See, transition's bad," but not in those words. Um, that totally makes sense. I think that is an appeal to authority. So it's like weird because we do these two different things, right? I, as a trans advocate, will say, here are some studies that agree with this position, and all of the people who are in charge of like figuring out which studies are done correctly have kind of determined that all of the studies that are trans supportive are like the correct ones. And that's an appeal to the rigorous scientific process. But then people who are arguing with us, like, I talk to people on the line all the time. They'll say like, well, this other government is doing this, so then it must be harmful. And it's like, okay, but so you're just like making an assumption that the government uses a similar rigorous process, and functionally you're just appealing to authority in that case, because like you don't even understand how the government makes these decisions. Like, I know more than these people about why the government makes these decisions, or like how they make these decisions. I've actually looked at the alleged evidence that is being used, like the CAS review, for example, to justify cutting this care back, or like pulling back. There's, I think, faith in institutions that creates what is more like an appeal to authority fallacy. Whereas like, so I kind of just am acknowledging that someone could try to dismiss what I'm saying as an appeal to authority, when I see like there's a very clear difference, and like other people seem to just be like, well, because some government decided to change the rules, like therefore it must be bad. Like, okay, that must feel good, to feel like a sense of trust in the institutions that's so profound that you're like, I'm assuming that if they make something illegal, it's because that thing is bad. And instead of understanding that there are all kinds of cynical motivations at play, where it's like, yeah, people, it's like, okay, I was actually just talking to my partner about this. The, oh my God, I still can't remember. Okay, the National Electrical Code, the NEC. So in the United States, we have this legal document that's an entire textbook sized legal document that says, here are all of the things that you're allowed to do. Like, you shall do it this way, you shall not do it this way, or here are some options of ways that you can do the installations. And they do things like, like every wire has to be secured in a certain way, because if the wire comes loose, that's a fire hazard. And like, so a lot of the rules in there are because of stuff like, because it's a fire hazard. Like Chicago, just as a fun little fact, Chicago has its own electrical code. It does not follow the National Electrical Code because the NEC guidelines are not safe enough to prevent fires in Chicago for whatever reason. So Chicago has like a whole other level of additional requirements for the legal installation of electrical equipment. Oh my God, why was I even on that track? It was taking forever. Oh, yeah. So some of the rules are because people died, but because it is a bureaucratic institution, it is not immune to things like lobbying. So there have been times, at least according to some master electricians that I've talked to, there have been times where like something is now a requirement in the National Electrical Code, and like, technically speaking, it is safer. I need to cancel my recurring sub, but I can't find a way to on here. I think you have to do that through PayPal. So you would go to your PayPal account and find your recurring subscriptions and cancel it from there. That's my understanding. Sorry that you're having difficulty financially. I completely understand. No worries. But yeah, like, so there are things in the NEC that are required, and you shall, but it's because someone who owns that company asked for the rule to pass. And it's like in a way that stands in the way of safety sometimes. Like, one of my teachers was talking about a situation where he was working on a house in Kansas City that the breaker box was like actively dangerous. The breaker box was like actively sparking and it was not safe. Um, and there is now a requirement where you have to install a certain kind of breaker, and it's a more expensive style of breaker. And this family couldn't afford the more expensive style of breaker, and he could not legally replace the breakers with like a regular breaker that is just new and not sparking all over the place. So it's like, not only was that change made for a potentially bureaucratic reason, or you can make the argument technically, strictly, it's like safer to have AFCI installed than to not have AFCI installed, but it does create a situation where like, oh, well, now it's no longer legal for me to even replace this with the same type of thing it was originally, but just new. And so you've left me in this unsafe situation where like I as the electrician can't like front the cost for this. And it's like unsafe the way it's installed right now. So yeah, even things that we assume and we would like to think are rules that are made explicitly to deal with human harms, ultimately money being involved represents a problem that like disrupts how we function on a pretty fundamental level. Angelica says United States is potentially banning all adults from receiving gender-affirming health care, so Medicaid won't cover it anymore if their bill passes. Yeah. And also my body doesn't, or so my body relies on synthetic hormones now, does not produce naturally. Yeah, I don't know that they're really coming after like private insurance yet. Or trying to make it illegal for adults explicitly yet, but I did see that they are trying to sneak it in. And I even saw like the Alt National Park Service, if anybody's been seeing them on Blue Sky or Facebook or whatever, they have been talking about the big beautiful bill, and even they posted like a day after I knew that they had expanded the definition to all trans Americans on Medicaid and not just minors. Even they were still reporting like, eliminating gender affirming care for minors on Medicaid. It's like, no, babes, they're going after a lot of adults, 165,000 adults on Medicaid, trans adults on Medicaid, who would not be able to get that care through Medicaid anymore. And of course, it's a bigger problem for people who rely on that medicine. I feel like the thing that is going to happen is that they'll be like, yeah. We'll basically, if you're a trans woman, we'll basically just treat you like a man with low T, or like a man who has had, who like lost his testicles in an accident, and we will cover testosterone for you, but we won't cover estrogen therapy. Hi, baby. Are you being annoying and gross again? You being gross and annoying? What a gross, annoying weirdo. What a weirdo. What a creep. Are you a creep? Yeah? Are you basically only in here because you want me to scratch your butt for you? That's all I'm good for nowadays. Ooh, yes. Okay, that's great to hear. So a young person that I know, young, responding to your comment, has expressed interest in being a building inspector. And I do think that it would be a good job. I think it would be a good, solid job that we would need. And you kind of end up learning a lot about a lot of different topics. By banning it from Medicaid, it allows non-government insurers to not cover it anymore. Like, it gives them a pretext for it, sure. Oregon still has protections, and insurers will still cover it, but I don't know what it means for people on state insurance. Yes, that is something that we're going to have to figure out. What? Oh, is that? Yeah? That's what you're here for? You're here for butt scratches? Annoying little bitch. Did you fucking put a hairball in a box and then later I found you sleeping on top of the hairball in the box like a gross baby who needs a bath? A gross baby who needs a bath? You're annoying. Yeah. You're weird and you're gross. And I don't like you. Yeah? You can just say whatever you want to cats. They don't understand English. You can say whatever. Yeah, Mira agrees with me. Fully expect them to cover natal hormones, but not cross-sex hormones, i.e. forced detransition. Yeah, totally. Excuse me. You think that bill is going to ban the ACA from trans healthcare? I feel like that would be much more difficult to undo. Building inspector, I don't believe you need a degree. You just have to get certifications. The main speaker at the conference, which was about historical districts specifically, but he does everything, seemed to love his job beyond what should be allowed. Yeah, fair. Yeah. And I know that there are plenty of historical buildings in the Willamette Valley, like plenty of historic buildings. So I'm sure that there's all kinds of, yeah, like we want to update this building or we want to bring it up to code. And it's like, okay, well, here's what you'd have to do. Yeah, Drea. Curious how the new federal laws are going to butt up against the Oregon law that requires all insurance to cover trans care. I think this is one of those situations where it's like, I guess technically the federal law supersedes the state law, but I also know that, like, there's a good chance that California, which is, again, one of the biggest economies in the world, California, Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, there are other states who are fully prepared to sue the shit out of the federal government. Like, okay, boys, how much money do you want to waste on, like, fighting this? Because we voted directly for a lot of these things. Or, like, we want these protections in our state. So... Oh, they did put that in the bill, banning trans care from the ACA. I was kind of under the impression that you had to actually amend the original bill instead of just passing another law that says, oh, by the way, this other law isn't, we're changing it. And it's like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, but whatever. Quantum says my dad is a building inspector in Canada, and here at least you just need certification. Took him about 1 year to get it along with energy audit certification. Yeah, I think that, yeah, there are all kinds of really great certificate programs at, like, in the United States, we would get those at, like, community colleges. That's where I got my technical certificate in electrical technology, was at a community college. So I'm imagining that, yeah, there's... And like little stuff like cosmetology. Did you know that you can get a 2-year degree in like winemaking here? Like there's so many vineyards that you can get a 2-year degree in winemaking. Wild. Yeah, it seems like it would be really beneficial to get yeah, like an inspection certification. Because I imagine that's a boring-ass job that many people are not thinking about. Alaska passed a law that required Medicaid to cover gender-affirming care, but the federal law would override that. Yeah. So I think that in a basic situation, that's what would happen. But I think just because there would be lawsuits immediately, I imagine that there would be injunctions pretty quickly. And if you have, yeah, like... Guys, the progressive states are like the wealthiest states. So if the wealthiest states are like, yo, our economies can like afford all these lawsuits. So I don't know. It just seems, I have no idea what's going to happen. I really feel like I should stop trying to make political predictions because consistently I've been like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Or like things have happened and I've been like, whoa, Didn't see that one coming. Kitty says, we're going to very soon reach a point where they have spent more money opposing trans care than deluxe full care for every American trans person. You know, in another year, we might have spent enough for all trans people worldwide. Oh, interesting. Oh, like they're spending more money opposing trans care than we would be spending if we paid full price for all of our shit. Yeah. People blame Obama for ACA not being as good as it should have been, but saying it's just Romney care. I think that viewpoint misses one of the major factors, which was while the law was passed by Congress, SCOTUS just decided to say nuh-uh, which really wrecked huge aspects of it. Several states, of course, the southern bigoted ones, still refused to expand, leaving millions of free money for medical care on the table. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that I don't know. I think the problem is that obviously, yes, a lot of people blame Obama because I think that people tend to just blame the president, whoever's president at the time. It's the easiest reflexive thing to do. But I think that being annoyed with the president kind of is shorthand for being annoyed with an entire abstract system. He just happens to be the face of that abstract system. You know, it's like the one elected position that most people who vote for. There's a lot of people who don't vote for anything except the president. Like that was me for a while. I just didn't know enough about other issues. I didn't know about like the fact that there's elections in May or whatever. So I think it's just like this guy is the most visible person to represent how frustrated I am that the government does stupid shit all the time. Dude, I know. I'm just now coming to the realization that like, oh, like I kind of knew about this in the abstract, but the fact that like Al Gore won the presidential race and the Supreme Court was just like, nah. Like that's an insane, like democracy has been dead in this country since I was like 5 years old. Or like, yeah, whatever, 5, 6, something in that range. Oh yeah, all the hurdles you have to jump through even to get the trans care covered. Like by state insurance, I mean like private insurance, you can potentially shop around to get an insurance that is going to have fewer barriers, but for the most part, you just like are always going to have a bunch of fucking hoops to jump through if it even covers your stuff. Get my water bottle off the floor. That sounds like a fucking nightmare. Just like Kitty describing all this. I don't even want to like repeat all that. It's such a nightmare situation. I feel like there was something I wanted to talk about this week. Maybe was it on Blue Sky? Oh man. It's finally getting warm out, which means it's warm in. Trying to get my phone to fucking load and tell me what the temperature is. Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna make a quick little change, and I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, it was getting a little stuffy in here. Just needed to make an adjustment to my ventilation system that I've got going on here. I've had a long week. Yeah, no, completely. Totally understand, Kitty. I'm just like, I don't want to repeat all that nonsense. Like, save my voice, save my oxygen for, like, commentary that's worth making. Oh my god. I feel like, yeah, it's a little bit stuffy in here, so I'm like a little bit air hungry today. Like, keep feeling like I need to get a deep breath. I told you, I'm symptomatic this week. Oh, yeah. And it's hard to yawn sometimes, but that yawn felt good. Oh no, I do actually have to go, but Lux said not to. Okay, I give you permission. Weak central government means you can't tell us down here in Louisiana that life don't start at conception. Yeehaw, fuck teaching science. That's against our religious views. Yeah, same thing, decade after decade, century and century. You know, I've actually been enjoying listening to some history videos recently. On the channel, there's a channel called History Hit. History Hit. And there's this woman, Dr. Eleanor something. I can't remember her last name, but she's an American woman who lives in the UK, and she does all these videos. Like, she's the host of all of these, like, let's talk about the role of women in medieval times, or like, what did people wear in medieval times, or like, how much alcohol did people drink in medieval times. And I have been thoroughly enjoying listening to that. Oh man, this is funny. This is funny. Utah is silly out here. Okay, hold on. Utah lawmakers' own study found gender affirming care benefits trans youth. Will they lift the treatment ban? So basically, they passed a law in 2023 in Utah, you know, saying you can't do trans care anymore. What's the channel? The channel is History Hit. History Hit. Good videos. Dr. Eleanor, my favorite. They have a bunch of other stuff on there, but I just like her videos the best. So anyway, Utah passed a ban on gender affirming care back in 2023. And basically, okay, so Utah's ban on gender affirming care for trans youth was meant to be a moratorium to give lawmakers the chance to reevaluate the policy after experts reviewed research on the impacts of treatment. This week, nearly 2.5 years after the law took effect, lawmakers have received the findings of that study. So the lawmakers themselves commissioned a study. They basically did what people are saying is like, there's not enough research to justify doing this. We don't have enough data. We don't know what the long-term effects are. So that's why they were like, okay, we can't let children continue doing this until we decide like that we have studied the data and we know what the actual situation is. So Utah health experts concluded in a more than 1,000-page report, quote, overall, there were positive mental health and psychosocial functioning outcomes as a result of gender-affirming care. However, of course, some Republican legislators are already dismissing those findings. Young kids and teenagers should not be making life-altering medical decisions based on weak evidence. Like, you commissioned this report. If it's weak evidence, then that is literally your fault. Katie Hall. Oh, it was a joint statement from Katie Hall and Bridger Bolander, 2 representatives. Okay, like, Utah was right to lead on this issue. The public agrees. Polls show clear majority support both statewide and nationally for this ban. Simply put, the science isn't there, the risks are real, and the public is with us. We intend to keep the moratorium in place. Like, for like literally over 1,000-page report looking at all of the available science, concluding that there is a benefit, and they're just like, nuh-uh. This is why I keep saying, like, these people don't actually care about the data. They will pay lip service to the data, but the moment the data doesn't agree with them, they will move to a different thing. Like, whereas if I saw evidence that gender affirming care was harming children, I would be like, I agree. We need to increase precautions in this area. There still may be cases where it is absolutely necessary, but if it is harming more than it is helping, I would be like, okay, we need to reevaluate on that. In the sense that, like, even though I am staunchly pro-trans and I always want to reduce suffering for trans people, I mean, I'm saying, like, if we were finding that seeking gender affirming care was causing negative outcomes, then that would mean that what we're doing is not helping trans people. And I want to help trans people. And I want to reduce harm across the board. So it's like, I'm consistent on that, and I will follow the evidence where it leads. But these people don't care about the evidence. They have a moral position. I really would love if I could get someone on Takis to admit that they have that they object morally. Like, I was thinking about the normal conversation, where cis people are like, I'm not cis, I'm normal. Or when they say, like, I think more specifically, I was thinking of, recently I was basically arguing, like, no, being trans is normal. We know that it's been happening for a long time. We know that it's treatable through medical intervention. Like, it's a normal thing. And it's because I was like, and therefore we should teach children about it because it's just like a fact, you know, like we just teach children facts in school, like the fact that Black people exist and the fact that whatever, you know? So I'm just like, I just view trans existence as a fact. It's a normal fact. It's a neutral fact. And some person was arguing with me like, no, it's not normal. And I was like, okay, well, if it's happening on a regular basis throughout human history, like, those are the factors that I'm considering when I'm thinking of, like, what is normal. And this person was like, well, just because a lot of people have done something doesn't make it normal. And I'm like, okay. So what I really would like to do is I would love to get a caller having that conversation so that I could get them to admit that by normal, they mean morally acceptable. Like, to me, normal means, like, it's just a thing that happens and it's not particularly out of the ordinary. But for them, they are using the term normal to describe, like, moral, non-degenerate behavior. Like, that degeneracy is part of their definition of normal, you know? I thought most of the spicy Takis calls are based on moral opinions, not facts. Yeah, but I'm really thinking about it just more in this context of, like, I want to get someone to admit that, like, they're arguing with me about the scientific facts, and they'll bring up the Cass report and they'll say, I care about this because this is harming children or whatever. And it's like, I really just want to start pinning people down on, like, just admit that you have a problem with trans people morally, that you think it's morally a bad thing. That's a different conversation. It's almost like all of these conversations that they are bringing to us, like all the alleged data that they're bringing to us, like all of the alleged rationale that they're bringing to us, it's like a pointless conversation as far as getting anywhere with that person, or even as far as, like, helping our audience understand how to change people's minds, because you can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. Like, I just want people to admit that, like, they just don't like trans people, instead of trying to pretend that they want to protect trans kids from harm. Like, just admit you think that being trans is undesirable. And you don't want, it's like you don't want your children to be freaks, ultimately, is what the feeling that you are having comes down to. Yes, the science is invalid unless it supports my ideological fifis. Oh no, did they actually move on the fluoride thing? Did RFK actually move on the fluoride thing and like trying to remove fluoride from public water? I hope the state of Oregon is like, fuck you, asshole. We'll do whatever the fuck we want with our water. I wish people understood that trans people in supportive environments will always have lowered levels of suicidal ideation. I also wish they would realize that just because I say I could kill myself doesn't mean today. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of wonder sometimes if, like, I don't know. It's so weird to be like, we are telling you that children are dying because of this care. And, like, I mean, I don't know, man. I think it fits into this broader thing. We talked about this last time. We talked about the video that Taylor Lorenz just put out talking about the "someone should do it" meme and how she contextualized it. Like, basically, these are memes about assassination, as far as I can tell. Like, that's what her premise in her video was, at least, that it's people memeing about, like, political violence, I guess. And the kind of context she put it in was like a normalization of death. So it's like, how are we here? We've been trying to put, I guess, what we feel is our strongest emotional argument. Like, the strongest emotional argument that we could make is like, you could kill teenagers by taking away this medical care from them, or by, you know, trying to subject them to conversion therapy or whatever. But it's like, because of the context in which all of this is happening, people will literally laugh at that. Or people will say, well, that's a good thing. Or they'll say, well, I don't care. Or they'll say, well, you're just lying about that. And so it's like just created this situation where, in a way, I think people are like uniquely unfazed by the deaths of trans people. But I don't know if it's that they're uniquely okay with the deaths of trans people, or if everybody has just had death normalized to them, where it's like, yeah, let's go to brunch. And in the back of your head, you kind of vaguely remember that, like, people are dying from COVID. Or, like, maybe you heard about it on the news, or, like, maybe you know somebody who recently passed away from complications, or you know someone who knows someone, or something like that. Like, but it's like, yeah, everybody told me that it was fine for certain people to get hurt by this. Like, oh yeah, whatever, we can go back to lunch because the only people who are going to be affected are old people and disabled people. So it's like, we have all, on some level, whether we have, like, been deliberate about it or not, like, there is a normalization of death. Sometimes I feel at this point that the opposition is so entrenched that there's little leeway to be had. Yeah, that's true. Moshe is asking, is there a go-to way you deal with the "it's about children" argument in general? I get absolutely twisted up because they obviously don't care about real kids that are actually suffering. Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I talk about this on the Transatlantic Call-In show, and I talk about the arguments here on my show, but I'm not out there trying to convince people in the real world. So I don't know necessarily what's going to be the most effective, and I don't even know if I have ever been effective in changing the mind of the person that I am talking to on Takis. I don't know, like, except for when people actually call us and they are already open-minded and they're like, hey, I'm here to learn. Like, I don't know how often there are people who are on the fence who we're convincing, whether they're in the audience or whether they're callers. I don't actually know how effective we are in convincing anybody. I know that I have gotten really effective at restating my position in a bunch of different ways, but I don't actually know if I'm convincing anyone. So, like, I mean, the way that I talk about the "it's about the children" argument is, like, basically what we always default to is the only kids who get access to this medical care are ones who have been working with medical professionals in a multitude of different disciplines, and their parents are on board, and their parents agree, and the doctors agree, and the kid is insistent that this is the way that they want to go. So basically, when people are like, oh my God, it's about the children, I'm like, I try to basically just say, like, okay, Here's how that process actually works. And I guess maybe the hope that I have is if they understand that, like, and I try to explain things like, oh, you know, that 80% number you keep hearing, well, if so, what that actually is a number that describes the number of kids who like came into the gender clinic and then decided not to transition. So like if there are like 100 kids who think they might be trans and they come to the gender clinic, and then we have all these processes in place to make sure that only the kids who really, really need the care get the care. And like we turn away 80% or some amount of that 80% just like stops participating in the study or they stop going to the clinic. That means that like the system is working the way that it's supposed to. You shouldn't be scared by that 80% number. That 80% number is like the system turning away people who don't really need the care. And so only 20% who even have the questions, because the kids who are coming into the clinic are kids who are like, our parents, we have questions about how these feelings, like what do these feelings mean? And it's like there are child psychologists who are experts and they can tell the difference between a kid who is saying something for play versus a kid who is being very sincere. Like there are times when kids are like, "Rawr, I'm a bear," you know, like, and these child psychologists are experts in being able to tell, because that's a concern that a lot of parents have is like, well, you know, my kid pretended to be a fire truck for a week. It's like, okay, yeah, so there are adults who monitor this for years and years and years, and who they all decide together that this is the appropriate thing. I don't know if that has convinced anybody, but that is like what I try to focus on is like, here's the facts. The facts are that, in my opinion, not enough kids get access to this care because it's only the kids who are suffering the most who get it. And like there are kids who are more in the middle who are not like, I'm going to kill myself level of suffering, but who would still benefit from the care. So yeah, I don't know. Zypatient says, in fascism, degenerate death cleanses the rest of the blood and soil. So you'd be saving an unfactory life form who may, through propaganda, create more unsatisfactory life forms, so they shut down the propaganda. Since they can't reproduce naturally, they reproduce via the free press, is the long-standing conservative opinion. Totally. I mean, that's reflected even if you look at like how the Nazis spoke about homosexuals was like, oh, well, you know, they don't breed, but they recruit, and that's how they make more of themselves. So they reproduce via like seducing young men into their lifestyle. So like classic Nazi shit. When I was talking to my neighbor, she really didn't listen. She just kept interrupting my answers with other questions, like she just cared about her turn to rebut. I know that's something that bothers me too, is it's a huge Dunning-Kruger moment where these people think that they know everything. Like they know very, very, very little about trans people and they think they know everything. And so when they come to you as a trans person and they ask questions or they raise concerns, and yes, I know we do breed. Yes. It's just that's the propaganda position. But we had a couple calls on TACUS this week that were the kind of calls that I like to take, where someone's like, I need to learn something and you know more than I do, where they're humble, like where these cis people are like, I don't know about this issue enough to have a strong opinion. And then I say, well, here's why that matters. And they're like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way. Thank you for that perspective. Now I can update my thought process. Those are the best. But most people are not. There's like, it really bothers me. I guess this is what mansplaining feels like when someone is trying to argue with you about something that you have literal subject matter expertise. I am an expert on trans issues more than anything else. Like this is the thing that I have the most expertise in, literally more than anything else. And it is like actually insulting for people to act like their opinion is equal to my knowledge and for them to argue with me. And I'm like, okay, well, you're just repeating stuff about the Cass report, but I'm telling you that the Cass report has been debunked. So do you have something else? And they don't have something else, because I think that I think people are just unwilling to say, I have an ideological position, or like they feel like I mean, yes, because it is a weaker position. So yes, of course it's going to feel weaker to say like, well, I just don't like this. There's a lot of talking over on Takis. Yeah, yeah, I could mute people more than I do. I just don't usually mute people. Like I try not to interact with the call-in interface too much unless I'm like, okay, bye, good night, goodbye, I'm leaving now. I'm dropping the call, bye-bye. I know that Arden mutes a lot more, but maybe I should mute people more and just be like, look, no, listen. You're not listening, so you're muted now. Be quiet. Oscar, hello. Young says, I see a similar thing occur for a man who terrorizes BLM activists and says he supports the Thin Blue Line and even actively target Black Americans until he got targeted by his local police for something I do believe is unfair. But now he's like, fuck the Thin Blue Line. All that marketing, cops are vicious. Like, no shit, Sherlock. It is really funny to me. And Trey Crowder he's like the redneck comedian. And that's his thing. He's like, I'm from Tennessee and I talk with my accent now. Now I live in California. Like rednecks historically don't respect cops. I mean, they're like doing illegal shit, and then they will do things like get in a car chase with a cop. And like for these kind of rednecky individuals to now be like, we love the cops, it's like, you don't know anything about your roots. Like, put away that Confederate flag if you think you think you're a rebel and you're sitting here licking these boots. Like, rednecks need to get back to their roots in that regard of being like, who gives a shit about the police, and they're just going to do whatever they want to do. I think the idea of other people dying for unfamiliar reasons is just depersonalized. Like, in a similar way to the idea of, what if your kid was gay, didn't do anything for conservatives unless they literally had a gay kid? The issue is beyond the personal, and they can't imagine it. Yeah, I think it may be a little bit of a normalcy bias, where they're like, well, I don't have any experience with that, and therefore, like, that has nothing to do with me, or like, that could never happen to me. Ultimately, that's what the normalcy bias kind of gets at, is that feeling of like, well, that could never happen to me. Or like you hear a loud noise in the distance and then you kind of just go shrug. That's probably normal. Like, and it could very well have been like a building exploding or falling apart, or a massive truck slamming into something huge, or like a train hitting something. Like, there's the normalcy bias is a tendency to be like, yeah, whatever, it was probably fine. Or like, yeah, whatever, it's not going to happen to me. Frankly, the normalcy bias is what has Kansans out there like crazy people on their fucking porches staring at a tornado. The normalcy bias, like, oh, it's not going to come on this way. It's not going to come over here. Like, girl, okay. I think the convincing part of this is very slim. People do not like admitting they were wrong, and it's easy to handwave anything that goes counter to your beliefs. Yeah. I am always of the opinion that the debate is worth having. Like, any debate is worth having, because there are people in the audience who will be on the fence. The person who you're speaking to has a vested interest in not admitting that they were wrong for their ego. But so the person that you're speaking to, they might later be thinking about what you said and evolve their opinion or change their mind. But that's not who the conversation is for. The conversation is for people on the sidelines who aren't sure. It's for people on the sidelines who themselves are trying to refine their arguments. So yeah, I have always firmly been of the opinion that, like, debate does serve a purpose. It's a form of entertainment primarily, But you can give people little nuggets that are ultimately going to make them like evolve in some way, hopefully. And everybody needs something everybody needs something else at a different point in their process, which is why I also believe it takes all kinds of different people and all kinds of different arguments. And even on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I take a different approach with different people. Like there are some people who I get really annoyed at, and I'm like, no, dude, you're fucking wrong. Like, you just are wrong and you can't admit it. And there are other people who I'm like, well, you know, I think that I'm just going to point out that there was a logical inconsistency with what you just said there. Because everybody needs something different at different points. And it's why I'm not even that annoyed with people like Matt Dillahunty, who sometimes, you know, people complain that he gets too spicy too fast. But people who call know that that's what they're getting. And sometimes you do need somebody to be like, that's a dumb fucking thing you just said. That's dumb. That's a weak argument. Be better. Do you have something else? Like, it's like, I guess I'm just going to default back to like, it takes a village. You need input from a lot of different sources. We should really take philosophical debate in school. It could be fun. Maybe anarchists are onto something when it comes to authority. Like, a person's got to find that middle ground of not just trusting any person with credentials agreeing with them and also trusting a consensus. Yeah. Anarchists don't like unjustified or unnecessary hierarchy. That doesn't mean that we don't like subject matter expertise. And yeah, like somebody having credentials, sometimes there is like an unpopular scientific opinion that turns out to be correct. And it's like, that's a personal judgment thing. Like, you know, you just have to be able to like ascertain what types of information are actually like useful types of information. And recognizing that, like, you know, who funded the study can be just as important as what the study found. Who has a vested interest in looking into whatever these issues are? It's important to try to meet people where they're at, but that does not negate bowing to negative opinions, and sometimes it may require you to walk away. Yeah, I mean, listen, we hang up on people sometimes. Like, Ben, it was so funny, like, last week, like, the week before this past week, Arden and I had on a caller named Ted. And Arden was like, oh my gosh, Ted, I appreciate how honest and forthright you've been this conversation. And she went really easy on him for Arden. And then Ben was like, no, I don't respect your opinion. Like, you're wrong on this, and I'm tired of it. And Ben went off. So Ted got like a dramatically different experience from one week to the next. And it was like, maybe it's easier for Ben, because Ben is like, imagine all the ways that I feel about being correct about trans issues and how I'm a subject matter expertise, except also I went to school for 14 years to become a fucking doctor. Like, yeah, of course Ben has less patience for this because he's like, I am literally a doctor. You can't argue with me about what is appropriate medical care. I like Matt. Unlike Sam Harris or Richard Price, who've behaved racist, Matt has never gone buck wild on the racism thing. Yeah, I can respect that. I do think, like, Sam Harris is a weird guy for being weirdly racist. I can't remember anything about Richard Price, though. I listened to hundreds of hours of atheist experience back in the day. I assume is what, like, ACA, Atheist Community of Austin, so like all of their programming. I do miss people like Jen and Tracy and Don. Shake my head. Yeah, that was a whole fucking... Didn't that explosion happen over trans people in sports? And like the inclusion of rationality rules who is like still overtly transphobic on that topic. Later, kitty. If I went to medical school and did everything for that, I would not be able to suffer any fools either. Yeah, like I would lose my mind on a regular basis, I think. Motoko has been popping off some paragraphs in the YouTube chat. I was just thinking about how fascism is often like a regression from legitimate political concerns back to just people doing what they want in positions of political power. Like people seizing political positions to just exert what are more like personal social feelings and drives and desires. I know it's so often dressed up and so much stuff that seems very political, almost too political to the point where it's seeming to therefore ignore personal reality, but I think that's just the dressing. Fascism comes from a denial of the legitimacy of what is actually political. Ideas of how to make a good society for everyone, including people you are not going to personally get anything from. Or maybe fascism is ruled by libido, which inherently becomes toxic and predatory and abusive, given how much control you have over necessities and rights and freedoms. That's a very interesting thought process. Yeah, like the politicization of things that are not political, or like the disregarding of political things. It's kind of like a weird gaslighty catch-22 where like, you know, like, okay, so I'm in a guild in World of Warcraft, and one of the rules in the guild is no politics. In fact, there's like only one rule, practically speaking. No, technically there's two rules: no politics and keep it clean. We bend the rules on keep it clean sometimes, and no politics. So basically I feel like I don't even bring up that I'm trans. Like I just don't. And I don't talk about religion. A guy got kicked from our guild a few weeks ago for using the like yelling function to yell proselytization in Stormwind in a way that was making everybody feel uncomfortable. And then his brother got all mad. He was like, "Oh, whatever. My brother's just like saying what he believes." And it's like, well, it's like creepy, overtly religious and like overtly political behavior to be doing that, and we don't want it in our guild. So, yeah, it's interesting that like on the one hand, I can't even talk about a basic fact of my existence because it's a politicalized issue. Oh, sorry. What did you get muted for? Sorry, that was an automatic function, Young. I got you. Sorry, it just catches random people sometimes. Nothing personal. The bot is not smart. Oh man. I feel like I was kind of in the middle of something, but I also had just finished a statement, so I have no idea what it was that I was just saying. It's fine. Oh yeah, like okay, so on the one hand, people are like, whatever, like, stop talking about politics. But on the other hand, sometimes people are like, whatever, like trans rights, like people keep saying trans rights, they just want special privileges. This isn't a matter of like politics. Or like this issue isn't legitimate. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting thinking about those kind of opposing concepts. Richard Price is a good New Testament scholar, but just randomly decided to start commenting on how much he thinks BLM are thugs for no reason. Even when people were asking him about Matthew 5, it was pervasive enough that people stopped inviting him on shows. True. Yeah, maybe it was like the word thugs or something. I'm not sure. Cobot, yeah, maybe Cobot picks up thugs as a flag. I'm not sure. It's a little sensitive sometimes, but it's no big deal. It also censors words like poop. So. I do want to point out something interesting that this Utah study found. The review that was prepared for the lawmakers acknowledged that there is an increase in some specific types of benign brain tumors. It did find in studies, which included thousands of trans individuals, that the increased risk of mortality was consistently due to the increase in suicide, non-natural causes, and HIV/AIDS. And that patients who were seen at the gender clinic before the age of 18 had a lower risk of suicide compared to those patients who were referred as an adult, which obviates why getting this care early is important. Like, early intervention is important because it produces better lifetime outcomes. Apparently, Governor Spencer Cox has not said anything about the report that was commissioned in Utah. A spokesperson for the governor did not respond to requests for comment on the Utah study. And so, yeah, they're just gonna health officials decline. Wait. Why do health officials decline to take a position? I don't know, whatever. I'm done thinking about this for right now. I do like having conversations about rhetorical effectiveness. I don't know if it really benefits us or if it's just kind of a circle jerking situation, which is fine. Like, we're just here to hang out anyway and complain about shit. But I do think it is worth talking about, like, yeah, how can we, because we have to. And like, I've been talking about this recently as well, with just like queer people being accepted in our communities in general, as well as like, we do have to find ways to convince people, because there's all this propaganda. Like, so we have to be anti-propagandists, basically, or like create our own propaganda that's like pro-trans. And people get really triggered when I say that, but it's like, propaganda is just like a thing that you can use. It's just a tool that you can use. Yeah, Utah is run by LDS, so who knows who these officials are, truly. See if I had anything else this week that I particularly wanted to talk about. Like, I can't be getting bored like an hour and a half into the show. I'm just gonna take everything. I was like, okay, maybe I should just start posting my random like book rants and stuff on the channel, and then that performed really badly. So now I'm instead like, maybe I should just take all this random, anything that's not specifically trans related. Maybe I should, like, in fact, just start deleting non-trans content from my channel and then re-upload it on a different channel. Because, like, that stuff has never performed particularly well. Which means that I have, like, months of backlog. I could just start, like, from a year ago, anything that I've posted that has been not specifically trans related, and just, like, delete it and move it over. That sounds like something that would keep me occupied this week. Ooh, who has off work tomorrow? Does anybody have the day off work tomorrow? I forget about these holidays until they're literally happening. So I'm realizing even just now, like, oh yeah, there might be people here who are doing family stuff right now, or like people who normally would be in chat who are not here. At what point do we as trans people need to start circling the wagons? I feel like a good number of trans people, at least that I follow on like Blue Sky and stuff, have been like, yo, whatever beef we've had before, it's squashed now. There's no time for that shit anymore. But I don't know. It's probably not unilaterally true. Anytime we start to feel like the problem is too big for us to solve, we're going to start sniping at each other again. Like, that's pretty much what happens when you feel powerless to fix a problem, is like you start arguing with other queer people. Jamie's off work. Hell yeah. Drea's got the day off tomorrow. Hell yeah. I am supposed to record an episode of the podcast tomorrow. Although I might check today and be like, hey, let's double check that nobody has like Memorial Day plans tomorrow. Because honestly, I kind of don't want to record the podcast tomorrow. Which is partially because I don't want to watch another Star Trek movie. We're doing Star Trek movies and I'm just like, wow, this sucks. The like original series Star Trek movies. I don't really like older films. They're not paced well. I got the day off tomorrow and I wanted to go see a movie, but the theater has reserved basically every showtime for Stitch. I wouldn't watch Stitch anyway. Why are y'all fucking supporting Disney and all this bullshit that they keep doing with this fucking... Like, oh yeah, let's make yet another live action version of a movie that was good in the first place. I just find it really irritating. I also heard that in this version of Lilo and Stitch that like that Nani gives up her parental rights to the state, or that Lilo goes to live with like a white foster family down the street or something like that, which is obviously bad. Yeah, like, ooh, indigenous family broken up by U.S. government, instead of like, you know, it was, I think this person was basically saying, I was reading someone's commentary who was saying it's bad enough that in the original, the shady agent of the state that was prepared to ruin their family gets a redemption arc in Office Agent Bubbles. But for them to like straight up do a whole displacing Lilo into a white family thing is like pretty fucked up, especially if you know anything about Native Americans and like indigenous rights in America, and like the fact that we are still regularly stealing their children and placing them with white people. No. Oh, Byron. That's the hard thing about getting your PhD. Like, I would have work off tomorrow, but I have to finish a dissertation in less than 2 months. So, yeah, you're going to keep working on it. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Oh, the theater canceled showings for every other movie so that Stitch could have more times. Whoa. That's crazy. They're expecting so many people to want to watch that movie. Wow. Motoko, I just want to be clear that I'm not gonna like completely get rid of any of my older videos. What I'm thinking about doing is like, so people on this channel follow me exclusively for the trans stuff. Like people who watch my videos anyway, they only click on the stuff. I mean, not only, but like proportionally, they click mostly on stuff that is specifically related to being trans, or that is otherwise like kind of clickbaity in some way. So I've been thinking about just doing other kinds of content, and every time I do that on this channel, that content doesn't perform well. But I could just take a bunch of videos from this channel and delete them and repost them on another channel, and then I could have a different channel where we talk about other stuff. Potentially. Are you looking to do something tomorrow, Lux? So my husband has the day off tomorrow. And I'm supposed to record an episode of the podcast in the morning. And then I guess I didn't really have any other plans for today, or for the day. Like, just my husband is going to be home. I usually make dinner on Mondays. Like, I wasn't really planning on doing anything special. Definitely not gonna leave the house because it's Memorial Day, and I don't want to deal with Memorial Day traffic. Oh yeah, I was thinking about putting on a necklace earlier. Do I have any necklaces that I want to wear? This one is really cool. I like this one a lot because it's so first of all, this is my Full Metal Alchemist one, and I like it because it's really long. This shirt isn't exactly the right shirt for it, but I like that this plunges all the way down, like between my boobs, basically. It's nice, but I might just kind of like put it in here. It's for me. That's for me. It's gonna just hang out down there. Excuse me. Motoko, now you're kind of being vague in a way that I don't understand what you're trying to say. You called yourself for a very insulting term. Like, what did I say about myself? That's a cute top. Thank you. It's a crop top. I'm not normally a big crop top person, but, you know, honestly, mostly I just didn't want to wear a bra. So this shirt is loose enough that I won't have people commenting on the fact that they can see my nips. Due to the fact that anyone I would normally interact with on a Monday is going to have the day off, I have the day off by default. True. Oh, guys, so this, I'm waiting to hear back from a position at a nonprofit. Because, like, I'm looking into working at a nonprofit. And I just realized, like, okay, so because it's Memorial Day this week, that would delay, like, if they were to respond to my application, it's like, okay, well, it's definitely not going to be Monday. Like, but I am expecting I would hear back by the end of this upcoming week, if I'm going to hear back at all. And, like, definitely if I haven't heard back by the following week, if I haven't heard back by the, you know, by, like, the end of the first week of June, then I'm probably not going to hear back. Which I'm definitely kind of bummed about the idea of not getting the job. But it's not like you really apply to jobs not hoping that you'll get the job, you know? Typically, you're like, I want to get that job. You said annoying woke scold. Okay, so I guess I want to contextualize that I think my own opinions were annoying woke scold opinions back when my channel was at its most popular. Like, maybe you were here when we were looking through my most viewed videos last time. It's like, yeah, me talking about ContraPoints, me talking about Ariel Scarcella, like, my most woke scoldy annoying shit has some of the most clicks on this channel. And I don't like that anymore. So, yeah, when I'm talking about, like, trying to grow my content or trying to expand outward, yeah, I'm like, how can I change my personal brand to be less annoying to me? Like, but I also don't really want to stay in the persona of, like, a dirtbag leftist, which is kind of where I've been occupying for a while. I don't know. I'm not really sure if people perceive me in a kind of dichotomy like that anymore. Or if I've sort of exited it, where it's like I'm too progressive to be dirtbag, and I'm too rough around the edges to be a fucking annoying woke scold. SJW. What's woke scold? It's like an updated term for SJW. If you know what, like, a social justice warrior is, like, a woke scold is someone who, like, it's a term that I think Ben Shapiro invented. So I want to be clear. Sometimes people don't like that I use the term woke scold because it was created by an asshole. But basically, it's the person who's like, I'm gonna argue on behalf of, like, for one example, like, I'm gonna argue on behalf of this one particular small group of black people who take issue with this one thing, and when other black people are saying they disagree, I'm going to accuse them of being white psyops and not listen to them because I've decided that, like, the woke black person is the only person who can be a real human being. Like, it's just like that annoying bullshit where you're virtue signaling and you're like complaining about harm, but like not proving that anybody's being harmed. And like we share some values about like trans people are good or whatever, but like the way in which they go about it is just like really irritating. Oh god, yeah, I remember being like this too. Say thank you, Mosh. See, I'm not the only person who has grown here. I'm not the only person who has grown. Dirtbag leftist, yeah. Oh man, I'm realizing that like I don't even know if we've talked about this recently enough to have clear definitions. Dirtbag leftists are like, people view Vosh as like a dirtbag leftist. Like he is, like he says the R word. You know, it's like a leftist who says the bad words sometimes, I think is kind of ultimately. I prefer to go by benevolent psychopath. That's fair. I've been thinking recently too, like, so I have applied to this job to be a social media manager at a nonprofit, which has me thinking about how I do things on social media. And like, I make long form content on YouTube. I do make shorts, but I'm definitely not making shorts as much as I could be making shorts. And it's because YouTube shares a greater portion of its profit with long form content. So like YouTube shorts do not make nearly as much money as long form content. Like even if you're looking at it by watch time, shorts make less money even if you have a huge amount of watch time in shorts. And other sites are capricious algorithmically. Like Twitter is capricious, Facebook is capricious, Instagram is capricious from an algorithmic perspective. They also don't have very high quality moderation tools. Like I think that their block features don't work as well as I would like them to. So like all of these different things have led to me focusing on YouTube. You know, whereas a social media manager position for a nonprofit, what they are looking for primarily is short form content. They want like you'd have graphic design skills. They want you to have storytelling skills so that you can be emotionally evocative, and they want you to be able to make short form like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. And I've just considered like, why is it that I have never dipped into that? And it's partially a matter of like my comfort with longer form content, and also like there's just a financial incentive. Just like the main reason why I'm still posting on this channel, and the reason why I keep hesitating to post more regularly on a different channel is that I make ad revenue on this channel, and it would take a lot of work to get a second channel up to that point. Like, it's entirely possible that if I wasn't grandfathered in, I don't even know if my monthly metrics would qualify me for the partner program at this stage. I don't know. But I make about $150 a month on ads, and that's $150 I would not be making if I was posting on a second channel. So it's like, yeah, how many of us are stuck talking about issues we don't want to talk about, or struggling to grow a channel because we built its audience a long time ago while talking about totally different subject matter? Like, I don't know. It's just all really tricky, and it's all, like I said, capricious, I think is the best word to describe it. Is like, it's unpredictable and ever changing and does not really want to do you any favors. Doesn't really have any interest in doing you any favors. Like, the algorithm doesn't care if you make any money. It cares if YouTube makes money. And if it doesn't think that it's going to make enough money off of your content, it will deprioritize it in favor of something else. Oh my god, why is this loading constantly? Stop loading. Stop it. Okay, good. Tea. I still have tea. Oh, this is my favorite tea. I love this tea. It's almost gone. Dude, we went bowling, and I haven't been bowling for like 20 years. But I feel like it took me very little time to update my brain to be like, oh, yeah, no, I can do this in a way that I would not have been able to do it the last time I went bowling. And it was a lot of fun. I definitely didn't do very well, but I kind of like want to disengage my desire to do well when I am doing something like playing a game. Like I'm trying to, like, you know, even like playing World of Warcraft, I'm like, I'm trying to do it well. I'm trying to do it correctly. Like that there is a correct way to do things, and I'm trying to conform to that. It's like, yeah, if I'm bowling, I'm just trying to fucking bowl. Like I'm just trying to goof off between rounds and stuff. That's all I'm trying to do. My partner's like, I want my own bowling ball. And I'm like, why? You're like taking the fun out of it almost. Bowling is great once in a while. I always forget that it's an option. Yeah, it's apparently like, it's like one of the highest, like it's like per capita one of the most engaged with sports in America, which makes sense because they're extremely accessible. Like there's bowling alleys everywhere, and you don't have to join a team. You could literally go bowl by yourself. And it's indoors, and it doesn't require a ton of specialized equipment. You know, like if you wanted to play baseball with your friends, do you know of like a field where you could go, or like not even a field? Is there an actual baseball diamond, do you know, that you could go to play with your friends? I don't know. Sometimes there's baseball diamonds at public parks, but do you know enough friends to play even a loose casual game of baseball? Like even a hard mode version where like you only have a couple people covering the entire field? Bowling is fun, but mostly with other people. Yeah. I'm not sure that I would have as much fun with it if it wasn't like in a group setting. I think visiting Hawaii is fine. Oh, what are you guys talking about? You guys are talking about the context of colonialism. Um, I actually personally, and maybe this is just like my prerogative as like the dominant socioeconomic group. I mean, like obviously I don't have a ton of economic power personally, but I'm white and I don't want to visit Hawaii because explicitly I feel like it would be a gross perpetuation of colonialism. And sometimes people will be like, oh my God, that's such an anti indigenous standpoint because the economy of Hawaii is so dependent on tourism that if we don't go there, then they're going to wither away. And it's like, it's not like that's what Hawaii was built on. Like, yeah, now as a result of colonialism. But if we collectively stopped doing tourism there, then other industries would rise up. Like the hospitality industry being such a huge thing there is like not even something that the indigenous people want per se. So I do actually think it's gross when I see my white friends visiting Hawaii and staying at these hotels and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's actually really gross to me. I think that saying that does kind of make me sound like a high and mighty woke scold person, but like genuinely, I just find it upsetting. Yeah, Young, I just watched a video from the YouTube channel Sean where he went over like the facts about the United States bombing Japan, and it was totally unjustified. Like it was totally uncalled for. There was no reason to do that. No. Dally says, I did bowling league 1 year. I was the best improved player, got a couple of badges and patches. I did not get a turkey pin, anytime I'd gotten any near getting a turkey, someone would note it, and then I would mess up getting the turkey. No. I wonder if participation in things like even like bowling, which is one of the most accessible sports, I wonder if participation in that even is decreasing because it's like $20 per person to go bowling for an hour. Um, so it just seems like yet another thing that probably fewer people are able to do on a regular basis. Like, yeah, maybe once in a while people could go bowling. And like, I guess it is somewhat revealing of my economic status that I can go bowling even one time. Like, you know, that we were like celebrating my sibling's birthday and decided to go bowling as part of that. As like, oh yeah, let's get out of the house and go do an activity. If you only have 2 or 3 people, though, you can get a lot out of it. That's true. Yeah, if you paid like $20 per person, 3 people for an hour, then yeah, I feel like yeah, that's about how much like a movie ticket costs, like $20, and you're getting like a couple hours of entertainment out of it. It's like what how much is it worth to you to have time to bond with your friends? Bowling is good for first dates too. Ooh, that's an interesting concept. Like, oh, you can see how well your date deals with frustration or failure. I feel like it would be like it's like a test going bowling. I would not do it on a first date. I might do a second date bowling, but a first date is like a coffee or lunch date, you know, if I were to ever do such a thing. I wish I had the funds and the transportation access to go even once a month. Yeah. I'm sitting out here and I've made the argument over and over again that like voter ID requirements are a type of poll tax because there are some people who genuinely do not have the fucking $40 to get a driver's license or get an ID. Oh my god. Chatter says, my sister went out with some loser and he agreed to pay for 5 rounds of bowling, but he couldn't afford it, so she paid. Oh man, I hate that. Like, if you're gonna make the suggestion of like where to go, be prepared to pay for it unless you're gonna talk about that beforehand. Like, you know, sometimes you hear the stories of like people dating and one of the people suggests going to a really fancy place and they're like, okay, and then they expect the other person to pay for the whole thing, and it's like, dude, no. Like, why would you suggest the extra fancy place if you weren't planning on paying for it? You just thought that you were gonna like make me pay for both of our meals. Good gracious. Oh man. uh it's so difficult to keep cool in the summer in the Pacific Northwest without having horrible allergies. The same guy tried to go out with me after going out with my sister. Apparently did not understand that we were related. Oh man. Men are just desperate. Yeah, no, I think you're correct to be angry, young. I don't have personally a lot of emotional investment in Pearl Harbor and fucking Hiroshima bombing, but like I totally get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, is there anything in stream recommendations? I feel like there was some stuff in here before, but maybe there is not. Okay, no, there's nothing in here right now. I have no idea why this was shared in the Discord. but this was shared in the stream chat in the Discord like a week ago. Like a week and a half ago. Why? I don't understand. It's crazy that he was so much younger in the first picture, but that was the expectation for like a buff guy in Hollywood at the time. Like you were still allowed to have body fat. And here this old man is now like ripped. The standards have changed. What does everybody have going on this week? Or like, you were discussing how women like less ripped guys. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, we've seen this happening recently in conversation that yeah, women tend to like if you presented this as a before and after, women are like, I prefer the before. Maybe not the hair. Like the hair was a little bit crazy. What's up, Mabs? Thank you for popping in and saying hi. If anybody's here and you haven't yet hit the like button, hit the like button. Let's get some more people in here. Please let me graduate to a just chatting streamer who is rewarded for talking about stupid bullshit. I want someone who hasn't been here before to be like, what is up with your earrings? I think that's the one bad thing about this camera is that it does not have a super detailed image when it comes to like small stuff in the frame. It's like, I'm friggin' heckin' cute. I'm friggin' heckin' cute. This is just how I try to make myself feel better when I feel bad. I'm like, I'm adorable, okay? I don't feel good enough to actually, like, take cute pictures or anything, but... Hair part on the left side or the right side? Debate, go. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I prefer it like this, but I, like... Because I think that it works best with my face, but I think my hair itself actually looks better when I part it on the other side. What if you parted it in the middle? I won't do that. You can't make me. It's not going to occur. I'm really bad about getting on trends. Like I don't get on trends, even though maybe I should. So I'm definitely not gonna do a middle part. I know it's trendy, but I'm not going to. I agree with this commentary being made on Blue Sky right now. I guess it's a good jumping off point to just like chit chat about it a little bit. Quote, trans women think girl is when skirt, unquote, is cis people talking to cis people about the scary tranny they are unable to understand because their minds are trapped by the regime of heterosexuality. Every T-girl I know has had to speed run through sociology, history, and feminist theory to justify herself. And Bugs added on to that saying, literally the way every trans person I've met is extremely versed in endocrinology, queer history, contemporary feminist theory, several areas of law, fashion, pop culture, and the arts. I'm like, yeah, that's true. It is interesting. Like, yeah, I've never really thought about this particular angle that cis people are like, oh my God, trans women think you just magically become a girl the moment you put a skirt on. As though these women aren't thinking about like deep philosophical concepts like what does it mean to be a person, much less what does it mean to be a woman. Like, yeah, I don't, I'm sure that I've met trans people who don't know anything about any of this stuff, right? Like I've met people who are just like, I know that I'm trans and I don't have access to the internet, so I'm like, I just know that I'm trans, and so they're not involved in any of the discourses or anything, and they aren't constantly like learning new stuff to justify their existence. But yeah, for those of us who are online and who are like, basically the moment you face any kind of issues where people are questioning you, it kind of requires you to become an expert in these things. And yeah, it does mean that, like, I think trans person as a population are probably a lot more philosophically interesting than the general population. Like, I just don't. I just. There's like, we just have a lot more philosophically going on. Yo, me too. When I'm the most mopey, I'm always like, damn, I'm so cute and hot. It'll be all right. I don't even know how much I really believe it in these moments. Because it's not like I'm taking this, like, ooh, I'm so cute today. It's not like I'm going to try to, like, hit on my partner later. Like, that, I have zero plans to try to have sex later. So it's not like I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling myself. I'm just like, let me slap some glitter on this and see if that improves the situation. I don't actually put glitter on myself ever, but that's kind of the mode. That's kind of the vibe. You understand? Let me just throw some glitter at this and see if that helps. Hi. Hi, weirdo. What do you want? Are you getting what you want? You're getting the butt scratches that you crave? Annoying. Annoying little weirdo. Are you done now? Are you itchy boy and you need me to scratch you? You allergies boy? Like, I have allergies, the cat has allergies, we're all suffering right now. Your sudden need to deep dive to defend your humanity gets pathologized. And are you sure you're not just autistic? It could be the tism. Why can't it be that? True. Yeah, totally. Are you done? What do you want? Will you just lay there and stop being so weird? You're so demanding. I was just having a conversation with my psych student youngest about the areas of knowledge we have to move in influences the things we tend to know. Yeah, totally. It's like, if I had had the opportunity to, like, decide 15 years ago, like, would I have decided to become an expert in trans stuff? Like, if it didn't feel like it was something that just kind of had to happen, like if I felt like it was optional. I guess I kind of didn't feel like it was optional. And now I'm a fucking person whose primary skill set is in social media rather than, like, a skill where I could make more money, you know? Or, like, a skill that would be more hireable. Anyway, I am going to take my little midstream break, rest my voice for a minute. You're supposed to rest your voice after about 2 hours. When I get back, we're going to watch a video from Ty Turner. Because I don't know if maybe he's just covering, if he is, he's covering something that I've already heard about. But it seemed like he was covering something that was new to me. Let me open it up here. This video is about, like, social media policies that are going to impact trans creators. So I don't know if this is just, like, about CASA. It's something we've already covered before. But we're going to watch his video because that's an opportunity for me to rest my voice even more when I get back from stepping away to go to the bathroom. So yeah, I'll be back in just a second. Oh yeah, let me get you some music to chill to. All right. I'm back. And I have even more jewelry now. Now I have rings and a bracelet. See? I own a lot more jewelry than I ever wear. I don't know why. I'm just not a huge jewelry person. Just let me show up to a job interview wearing bone earrings. Sounds like a great idea. Hi, Drea. Oh man, I'm so sleepy. The thing about being depressed is like you're just fucking tired all the time. Yeah. Oh wow, this is pretty crazy. Yo, have you guys been seeing the ads and stuff for Final Destination? That like there was like I think legitimately I think that there was an ad that was like it was one of the logging trucks. Okay, so like here's one that's like looks like a dead construction guy hanging from a whatever, and then these like people are saying that they're seeing these around Final Destination and it's a logging truck because like of course all of us are traumatized by the original logging truck scene from fucking what was it? Was that Final Destination 2? Yeah, that was Final Destination 2. Diabolical. But then this is just really funny. Ceiling collapses in theater during screening of new Final Destination movie. And somebody commented on it and said, these creative movie promo gimmicks are going way too far. Like, that is very funny. Kennedy. Very funny stuff. My favorite Final Destination was the third one. In fact, I just referenced it to my partner, like, literally yesterday. He was like, look at this, my staple gun, and look at this, my nail gun. And I was like, is this the one that you would use to kill the girl in the Home Depot in Final Destination? It's like the goth girl in the Home Depot. Or Lowe's or whatever, home improvement store. Like, yeah, you better get out of here, jackass. My cat is, like, finally leaving me alone. Like, thank Christ, dude. I'm trying to work right now. Work? Or something. I don't know. I feel like I should know what the movie is about. Am I just a hermit crab? The Final Destination movies, they're horror movies. And the basic premise is like, usually at the beginning of the movie, a horrific accident happens that kills a bunch of people. And then someone like wakes up and they're like, oh my God, I just had a vision that the plane was going to crash. And then they get so freaked out about it that they miss the flight. And then like a handful of other people also end up not getting on the airplane. And then the airplane actually does explode. That is the premise of the first movie. And then the rest of the movie is death coming to get those souls who didn't get on the plane. And it's not like death is embodied in a Grim Reaper way, but it's just like every person in the movie, like every person who was supposed to die on the plane dies in the same order that they died in the opening scene. And it's always through some crazy shenanigans, like a way that someone could hypothetically die in real life, but like in extremely contrived circumstances. Like someone like accidentally gets floss stuck around their neck through a series of horrendous shenanigans, and the conditioner falls off of the tub, and then the tub is all slick and they can't get their footing, and then they hang themselves on the floss or some shit like that. So that's what Final Destination is about. That's every movie has a premise like that. Like something horrific happens in the beginning of the movie, which is a premonition of something, and then somebody stops some people from dying, and then the rest of the movie is those people dying in a particular order it's like a weird cosmic justice kind of way, like, you know, death is owed a life or some shit. So anyway, they're fun. It's dumb. Like there's nothing, it's just a great way to give yourself anxiety about a lot of like really improbable ways to die. Yeah. I don't know what that is supposed to mean, Nuvenal. Fox Dittos with no items. Is this a Pokemon reference? I haven't played Pokemon in forever. I don't understand Pokemon references anymore. I'm too old. I'm too old. Sorry, everybody. I have now become one of the olds. Oh yeah, I said we were going to watch this Ty Turner video. Where are my headphones? Are my headphones in the other room? Like, oh well, I guess maybe we'll just play it out loud. Cool.
Every major social media platform is now bowing to Trump and throwing their LGBT users under the bus to appease the MAGA overlords. Okay, a little dramatic, but they really are folding to this administration in some pretty significant ways. GLAAD recently published their 2025 Social Media Safety Index, which revealed some pretty troubling
Oh, no, Nuvenon's making a Smash Brothers reference. Okay, I've never played Smash, sorry.
changes across social media this year. And I'm not just talking about user content trending more anti-LGBT, which is also happening, but the platforms themselves have been changing their policies to allow more hate speech and harassment against queer people, with most of these changes disproportionately affecting trans people. So they are actively making it a more hostile space for trans users. And as a trans creator who has been online for over a decade and who has been on the receiving end of a coordinated harassment campaign by a very large TERF group, I can tell you that, like, well, you saw the title. That's not hyperbole. Like, this stuff gets real life dangerous fast. People are crazy. They do crazy shit. And having less protections and less tools to be able to mitigate that on the platform just adds a huge unnecessary risk to our jobs and makes us easy targets. And it makes it harder for us to create a safe space for our viewers on these platforms. So today we're going to take a look at GLAAD's report, go over what these platforms are doing, and talk about how these changes affect us. So here are the key findings from GLAAD's 2025 Social Media Safety Index. Recent hate speech policy rollbacks from Meta and YouTube present grave threats to safety and are harmful to LGBT.
We did kind of talk about, like, that it's no longer against the rules on YouTube for people to just make anti-queer content. Like, it's not, it's like gender identity and sexual orientation have been taken out of the policies for hate speech, or not hate speech, but you know what I mean, like the platform equivalent of hate speech.
LGBTQ people on these platforms. Platforms are largely failing to mitigate harmful anti-LGBTQ hate and disinformation that violates their own policies. Platforms disproportionately suppress LGBTQ+ content via removal, demonetization, and forms of shadow banning.
True.
That's not as much of a problem on YouTube as it used to be, but it is definitely a current issue on TikTok. Anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and disinformation on social media has been shown to lead to offline harms. Like I said, gets real life dangerous real fast. Social media companies continue to withhold meaningful transparency about content moderation, algorithms, data protection, and data privacy practices. Now, just from this snapshot, I think we can objectively say that things are not great. The current state of social media is not great for trans people right now. No, and yet pretty much every anti-trans conservative believes and preaches this conspiracy theory that trans people have taken over social media and are using it to indoctrinate children.
Yeah, it's that same, like, the enemy is strong and weak at the same time kind of thing. Marsh.
In the psychotic ramblings of Abigail Shrier, Irreversible Damage, she wrote a whole chapter about trans influencer where she talks about me and other trans creators by name and comes to the conclusion that our presence online is the agenda at work. Yep, here I am enacting my nefarious plot to trans all the children. It's insane, but people believe it. We've even seen bills introduced to ban minors from consuming LGBT content online. So having this in-depth analysis from GLAAD is a great resource to be able to point to and say, actually, trans people don't run social media, y'all do. Like, come on, have you been on Twitter lately?
I know, dude, it's so frustrating, and I see this happen in so many different contexts where it's like, oh my God, this group is so disproportionately powerful, and it's like, I assure you we aren't. It's like that. It's like when I'm so annoyed, I'm annoyed with Ari Drennan because she was like, all these leftists are making me feel bad, and it's like, trust me, girl, I assure you, you are still the dominant group on the left. As a fucking liberal, there are way more liberals and people who call themselves progressive. Then there are people who call themselves leftists. And like, I promise you that the presence of leftists in your community doesn't threaten your fucking dominance, as has been obvious for the last like several presidential election cycles, where like left-leaning candidates get fucking rammed by the DNC. Yeah. Yeah, Ty definitely exudes a super diabolical and evil vibe. Totally.
Because I haven't. But unfortunately, the people who need to see this the most are the least likely to. Because if we look at the coverage of this story, out of 50 sources, only 3 are right-leaning. 2 of them have actually just reposted the story from the Associated Press, and the third one has been removed. So really, no right-wing news sources are actually writing and publishing their own takes on this. I would theorize that's because they can't spin it to make us look bad, and because it contradicts one of the main anti-trans narratives that they push, so it gets ignored, which is part of the reason why I'm talking about this. I try to share and bring more awareness specifically to the trans issues that the right seemingly wants to ignore. And I'd encourage anyone who's willing to also do the same. And thanks to our sponsor Ground News, it's easy to see which stories are important to amplify, because they're—
I fucking knew it. It clicked for me that the whole thing is about manufacturing a precedent to crack down on people, at least from a strategic point of view. It's why we still hear about Biden when someone is criticizing Trump, not to mention a bunch of shit probably predating everyone watching this. Totally. Yeah, I mean, this is definitionally manufacturing consent. You know, if you tell lies about immigrants, and then you can get most people to turn the other way when you start like stealing their children and shit, you know? It's like, it's manufacturing consent.
Website and app compiles news coverage from around the world on a given story and gives us key insight on how various news sources cover that story. For example, left-wing queer news sources like The Advocate and Them highlight the severity of the situation as it directly affects their readers, saying LGBTQ+ people's safety has plummeted across social media platforms, and LGBTQ+ safety on social media apps may be worse than ever. But even looking at center-of-the-aisle sources—
That's another reason why I've never really wanted to be on Instagram or Facebook, is like, yeah, you just get like a ton of anti-trans hate. So like, yeah, if I were focused on making other content, like if I were focused on making media review content, like most people who see me are probably, I don't know, man. I always make this assumption nowadays that when people perceive me, they perceive me as a female. And like, so I'm like, I'm expecting to get misogynist hate. But I think maybe because I don't modulate my voice at all, maybe people still clock that I'm trans, or like, do people notice the trans flag, or is it the thing that I'm talking about? I feel like there have been some YouTube shorts that I've uploaded recently where I've gotten anti-trans comments, but it wasn't, I don't know, I can't check necessarily because I delete anti-trans comments, but I will get anti-trans comments on content that I'm pretty sure I'm like, why are you saying this? Why are you talking to me about groomers? This is a video about fucking immigration or something. Like, that is, that's the kind of thing that I mean. That's the kind of thing that I'm referring to. I don't really have a lot of recent comments on YouTube Shorts. So I'm like, I just always make this assumption that people are gonna perceive me as a cis female if I start talking about media literacy and everything. Like, I think that is just I'm going to avoid the trans thing at all unless I explicitly bring it up. But I don't actually know if that is true. I don't actually know if I pass as a cis female truly, or if that's just like most people make that assumption. I don't really know. Like, or are there way more people in my life thinking that I'm a trans woman and just trying to honor me in that way? Like, I have no fucking idea. I won't lie, it's going to be heartbreaking if it ever turns out there's something extra shady about Ground News beyond like a subscription service to tell you what news bias is. Yeah, do you pay for Ground News? I have no idea how it works. Maybe you pay for it. Because otherwise, like, if it's a free service, they're definitely scraping your data and selling it to someone. That's how that works.
like The Hill, reporting major social media platforms failing to meet basic standards for safety for LGBTQ users. That tells me this is a problem that's being taken seriously across the board. So it's probably something everyone should pay attention to. And the crickets from the right pretty much drive that home. So there's a lot of context we can get from seeing it all laid out like this. And of course, we get additional insight on each news source, like their political bias, factuality rating, and who owns them. Ground news has become a crucial tool in helping me keep up with trans issues and understanding how the media shapes our narrative. So give it a try and get 40% off the Unlimited Access Vantage plan, the same one that I use, by going to groundnews.com/Turner or clicking my link in the description below. Alright, now let's take a closer look at what's going on with these social media platforms, starting with YouTube. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I'm mad. In a deeply concerning update to YouTube's hate speech policy, the company removed gender identity and expression from its list of protected characteristic groups, which suggests that the platform is no longer protecting transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people from hate and discrimination according to its community guidelines. Damn. Now, that's not a huge change because the policy still lists gender, but man, it still feels significant because there was an intentional decision to remove gender identity and gender expression. YouTube is also the only platform evaluated that—
Yeah, there's a question to be made because I didn't know. I thought that they just straight up removed, like, I don't know, like if they list sex, comma, gender, comma, sexual orientation, I think that maybe this might be one of those situations where they're trying to like streamline their legal documents or like streamline their policy documents, because I don't really actually like the term gender identity. And like, I think it's interesting that they even had gender expression explicitly listed. But like, we also know that gender, the term gender broadly refers to all of these things. Like gender refers to your identity and your expression and your social role and like those expectations and everything. So in a way, I could understand it if they're like, no, we are streamlining our policy, but what we want you to understand that gender identity is included in the definition of gender, and gender expression is the definition of gender that we're going with. You know, like that would kind of make sense. I guess I haven't really checked up on it since we talked about it to see it, to be like, what does YouTube actually say now? Have they released any further statements? Which is what Ty is going over.
That does not have a policy prohibiting targeted misgendering and dead naming. So that's kind of rough.
Oh,
they do have pronouns.
No explicit protections for misgendering.
Which is awesome. But like if someone's going through my comments and purposely calling everyone the wrong pronouns, we don't have grounds to report that. YouTube is the only platform besides X that does not have an explicit policy prohibition of harmful conversion therapy content.
Ooh.
Whoa! Now I recently had a YouTube video talking about the TikTok conversion therapy trend, and I believe on that video there was like a little card, maybe from the Trevor Project or something, with information about how conversion therapy is harmful. So that's something, you know, that's good. But with them doing that, I would have definitely assumed they had something prohibiting actually promoting conversion therapy. That's not great. In a positive change from last year's evaluation, YouTube updated its advertising policies, which now prohibit advertisers from excluding users from seeing ads based on their sexual orientation and gender identity. This commercial is not for gays.
True.
They used to do that? That's kind of crazy.
I didn't know that they
And this
did
last
that
paragraph is basically saying that last year, YouTube made some diversity commitments, but now Google has announced DEI rollbacks on their policies, but those policies haven't changed officially yet. So those rollbacks aren't counted on this year's score, but will be counted on next year's score. Got it. And so this is YouTube's score, a 41 out of 100. So the Grab Report gave each platform a score out of 100, and as you can see, it's Fs across the board.
It is Fs across the board. The best platform for trans creators is TikTok. Like shit, I guess I gotta start posting my shit on TikTok. Or like pivoting to making short form content. Oh my god, that's crazy. Of course, Twitter is the worst. It's crazy that one company owns 3 out of these 6 most dominant social medias. Yeah, I agree. Gender identity has been weaponized via identify as. Like, oh, well, I identify as a attack helicopter, or whatever. These kids are identifying as cats now.
And they've showed their methodology. They have all these indicators and elements, and it's very in-depth, and they show you exactly how they score these things. So feel free to check that out. I'm not going to go through all this, but there's a lot of stuff that they consider when scoring. And as you can see, TikTok got the highest score with 56 because they didn't actively roll back their anti-hate and discrimination policies.
True.
Great work, guys. Maybe next you can
That explains why I keep getting ads from PragerU these days. Yeah, totally. I get maybe they before were like, don't show these to the F words.
Stop randomly removing my videos without warning, or at least give me a way to dispute that. Some sort of
TikTok
review process would be nice before just one of my most viewed videos of all time is just gone. That'd be cool. And that is actually something that they pointed out in the review, so it's not just me. Out of all the platforms evaluated in this year's platform scorecard, TikTok's hate and harassment policies provide the most comprehensive protections for LGBTQ people. They got a policy expressly prohibiting both targeted misgendering and dead naming. Hell yeah. TikTok also prohibits the promotion of dangerous conversion therapy. So that's good. I mean, it seems like TikTok is currently the best place for LGBT users. But as a trans creator, I mean, they really do just delete my shit. Facebook and Instagram got a 45, while Threads got a 40. So let's talk about the meta platforms, because they have had by far the most extreme policy change. In a major set of policy changes that have been widely denounced by human rights advocates and tech policy experts, Meta revised its hateful conduct policy this year to expressly allow and encourage hate, harassment, and discrimination against LGBTQ people. As one example, according to the updated policy, Meta allows allegations of mental illness or abnormality when based on gender or sexuality, or sexual orientation, given political and religious
Yeah, it's like for them to put it in their explicit policies of like, yeah, no, we are going to explicitly allow you to say that people are mentally ill. Like, you are not allowed to speculate in general on whether people are mentally ill, but you are allowed to based on their gender or sexual orientation, because that discourse is popular right now, and that's the only reason.
Discourse about transgenderism and homosexuality. Oh. What? They said the kids really want to bring back the R word and we're going to let them, but only if you're saying it about a trans person. And to be clear, the Zuck fully said they did this to appease MAGA. CEO Mark Zuckerberg said in January that Meta is removing restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are out of touch with mainstream discourse, citing recent elections as a catalyst.
So he's basically just enabling the Overton window to be pulled further to the right. Instead of being like, we should not allow the normalization of this rhetoric, being like, well, we would disproportionately have to ban conservative accounts and those make us money, so we don't want to do that.
Oh, everybody on Facebook suddenly wants to post transphobia and harass trans people. I guess the thing to do is to change the rules to make that okay now. I mean, we can't ban everyone. And that anti-trans rage bait does get all the grannies riled up. I mean, that's a lot of clicks and interactions that directly translate $2 bills in the pocket of Mark Zuckerberg's human skin suit.
True.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Now, Twitter got the lowest score, obviously. They revised their policy to only provide harassment protections where required by law. They don't prohibit conversion therapy content, but they do have gender identity protected in their hateful conduct policy. That's surprising, but I mean, I'm wondering if it's even enforced. Like, honestly, they probably just forgot to delete that. Because I'm pretty sure that if Elon Musk knew that were there, he would personally go in there and delete it.
I agree.
No, that's not true. He wouldn't know how to do that. He would hire a teenager and pretend he did it. All right, so that's where we are. Big steps back. But of course, these are all huge companies that will ultimately always go whichever way the wind blows. Like I said, I've been on YouTube for over a decade. I've been through many eras of policies and content restrictions. I've seen many ups and downs. And as disappointing as all of this is, I know it's temporary. And like, YouTube isn't just one guy. It's a whole company. There's a lot of people there, and a lot of them are fighting for us. And this definitely isn't the worst that the policies on YouTube at least have been for trans creators. But it is just unbelievable that we're taking steps back. And even on that, like 10 years ago, I did not have the same protections and resources that I have today to keep myself and my viewers safe, but really I didn't need them. It would have been nice to have them, but I wouldn't have needed to use them the way that I do today. Like, the current daily influx of transphobia that I receive far surpasses anything that I ever used to get. And it's not just because my channel was smaller. Like, even on videos that would go viral and break out from my trans viewer base and get seen by all types of people, you know, videos that got millions of views would get less hate comments than videos I post now that get like 30K views. And hate comments aren't the problem here, but they are indicative of the larger issue, that there is more anti-trans sentiment than ever. And we are currently more likely to be harassed and targeted more than ever before. And this stuff doesn't stay contained to online spaces. The GLAAD report actually cites this great podcast episode from Tech Against Terrorism called Online Anti-LGBTQ+ Hate and Its Offline Consequences. That's a good listen, you should go check it out, but the point is, people are crazy. They will obsess and escalate things. And with more people than ever currently expressing hate against us, now is not the time to be allowing more of that to happen. For so much of my life, social media was a safe space for me. It was an escape. I luckily am in a much better place in my real life and don't need that safe space anymore. But I know that if I did, I wouldn't really have it. It's not the same anymore. I don't know. I just hope that...
I think that we've talked about this before on this channel, where it's like, it genuinely seems worse now than it was when we were younger. And I think it is worse now. Like, for me to have come out 16 years ago, like, it's like worse now. Like, I'm like almost more proud of people who come out now than I am of people who came out when I came out, because you have to deal with so much more overt opposition now, like so much more overt hatred that was just like not normalized before. So yeah, I do think it's like weird to see social media companies like, yeah, it's interesting because like they never were progressive companies to begin with. They were just companies that were making money. And at the time it seemed like a profitable decision to make to like create protections for trans people and gay people on their platforms. But now that it feels to them like there is more and more like anti-trans content, like they're like, oh, well, in order to make money, we have to allow that stuff again. Ooh, someone subscribed on Patreon today. That was awesome. Very cool. Like to see that happen. So again, as usual, like it's like every single situation is poisoned by the presence of money. You know, that these companies are never actually making an ideological stand. They're never going to stay committed to an ideological position because they don't stand for anything. They are companies. Their profit motive is their primary motivation. That's what they're there for. They're there to make money. They're not going to... I mean, with rare exceptions, you know, there's like Ben and Jerry's, which it seems like... I mean, Ben and Jerry don't own it anymore. They've divested, I think, or like maybe they still have shares, but they don't run the company anymore. But like, yeah, there's just like this, like it's really rare for a company that isn't like one person's business. So anytime you get past the point of being a small business, like they're making decisions primarily to make money. Like small business owners are more like, yeah, I will refuse business of homophobes or whatever because this is my ideological position. And even if it hurts my business, I will stand true to my morals, because one individual running a small business still is answerable to their conscience at the end of the day. Whereas anytime you start to grow a company, like now suddenly the interest that you're serving is number go up, burr, all the time with no exceptions. Ooh, Mersh has the perspective to bring us saying it's like the 1980s now. Actually, it's worse due to Trump and the GOP MAGA actually having homophobia and transphobia as an integral part of their platform and policies. Reagan was certainly homophobic, but he didn't push laws against us as aggressively, even during AIDS. The, quote, war on woke is basically a war on LGBTQIA people and women in general. Oh, and people of color, of course. You know, we can't ignore that. At the end of the day, like, a woke started, I think, as a way of talking about black folks. So yeah, Mobius agrees, going through the same shit now that we went through in the 70s and 80s, but also online. Yeah, and moving at 1,000,000 miles a minute in a way that it didn't used to move 1,000,000 miles a minute before. I'm like just kind of browsing the front page a little bit and seeing if there's anything worth talking about today. This is the thing about not having a particular plan for stream, is like, yeah, at a certain point I'm gonna be like, well, what do we talk about next, boys? I guess what are we thinking is, like, is anyone else looking forward to Pride? Someone asked me at the beginning of stream if I was looking forward to Pride, and I'm like, I really just don't think about these things very much. I don't know if there's a Pride anywhere near me. Like, I have no idea if there is going to be anything near me. I mean, I assume, yeah, in Portland, obviously, like, probably there's a big thing in Portland, I'm guessing. But I've never been, like, a let's go to the big central Pride event kind of person. Yeah, I don't know. I might look into that a little bit more later. But it's like, yeah, Portland always has a huge Pride event. Yeah, and I know that in Seattle Pride, in the last couple years, they've been, like, handing out masks and stuff and encouraging masks at Pride. But it is still, to me, like, a huge super spreader event. And I don't really venture into Portland proper very often. Like, the actual big city part of Portland is a little bit scary to me. So, haven't really been there. We usually have a nice, low-profile little picnic in the park in our community. Yeah. So I just basically don't have any plans. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, this is the first Pride of Trump's second campaign. So are we going to... Is there going to be more terror attacks on, like, Target? Because Target has Pride shit? Like, I don't know. I consistently feel like I have no idea what is going to happen. I've always been too shy to join in Pride events. I wish I had someone to go with. I did take my younger sibling to a Pride event last year because I felt like it was important. I was like, yeah, and it's, you know, it would be the last opportunity to go to Pride in the area that I lived. So, like, I lived in an area that had a Pride event, but I only went to it, like, right before we moved because I was like, okay, you know, it's last chance or whatever. And it was nice. Like, you know, walk around. It wasn't huge. The Target near me did not have any Pride stuff last year. Target is on my do not buy list. Yeah, I haven't been to a Target since I moved up here, I don't think. And my Target credit card is the one that I always forget to pay off. Has bit me in the ass multiple times. I'm seeing a lot of fundraisers from Palestine recently. Like, that situation has just not gotten any better. Ooh, we're seeing a little bit more news about the odometer tinkering that Tesla was allegedly doing. Like, I saw news about this a couple weeks ago, basically that, like, there was a software that was being used on certain Teslas that would like inaccurately increase the odometer count so that they would then not be under warranty anymore for certain failures that they knew were occurring in cars like at below a certain mileage level. Yeah, so there's a California class action lawsuit alleging that the company uses predictive software to inflate odometer readings by up to 117%, which means more than double, voiding warranties prematurely and forcing owners into $10,000 repair bills. And this person said, what else did they say? Why? I think it said, oh yeah, this person said, reminder that odometer fraud is a federal felony and a state felony in all 50 states. So essentially, that's a big thing that is probably gonna. I mean, I feel like I don't know how the company is going to come back from that kind of thing, but I mean, you know, Musk has $1 billion, so it's just, you know, throw money at the problem and there will be no consequences. Is, man, dude, no wonder I don't talk about politics anymore. Every single thing, I'm like, yeah, that seems like it's not going to fix itself. Karba says, I'm looking forward to Pride. More important than ever to show up now. Stay safe, mask up, and carry something for self-defense. Be careful carrying stuff for self-defense because there are situations where you will be accused of premeditating the violence, even if you were actually acting in self-defense. So just be careful. You know, remember that the law does not apply to us in the same way. So, you know, people can beat us up and get off with like no punishment, but if somebody tries to beat us up and then we beat them up, we will get in trouble in a way that they wouldn't have gotten in trouble for being the aggressor in the first place. So just be cautious what you keep with you. You know, I'm not saying not to bring something to defend yourself, but I'm just saying, like, be thoughtful about how you engage with those situations. Time to buy a trans bunker. Totally. Bunker. So I'm, you know, I'm really like, what I'm looking forward to in Pride Month is I hope that in celebrating Pride Month, I hope that the application that I submitted gets approved. That's what I'm looking forward to in June. I want to get hired in June. That's what my goal is for June. The Tesla brand continues to crash and burn, literally and figuratively. Yeah. There was a period of time where, like, every single time I drove past the Tesla dealership, any Tesla dealership, there were protesters. Like, maybe less now because Musk has stepped back, or maybe it's like the time of day that I've been out and about on the weekends recently. But it's like, yeah, every single time I was driving past any Tesla dealership, there were people protesting outside and a bunch of signs and everything. So people were really annoyed with him. People didn't like him, and now the damage is kind of done. And he's stepping back from his role, but it's like I don't think that that's going to help necessarily. Seems like, yeah, he still came in like a wrecking ball and fucked everything up. Maybe I should invent something to be excited about in June. I don't even have any pagan holidays in June. Wait. Wait, is summer solstice in June or July? Is summer solstice in June? Then I guess I have summer solstice to look forward to. And that's going to be on a weekend, so that's nice. First day of summer on the weekend. The Chinese and General Motors are giving Musk a run for his money with the EVs. Yeah, it seems like every car company has their own EV now. Like, it doesn't seem as though there's a huge dearth of electric vehicles to choose from. Solstice is June. Good to know. So yeah, the solstice is this upcoming month. So I guess I have that to look forward to. Ooh, maybe I'll finally finish. Oh God, you guys, I spent like 3 months on and off working on this giant crochet mandala. I had to undo it and redo it a bunch of times. And I have like everything I need to mount it. I just haven't done it yet. Well, I need like spray paint because I have a hoop that I want to spray paint and then catch it in like a dream catcher in a giant. It's going to be like huge. Genuinely, it's going to be like this big. And I'm going to hang it on the wall in my living room or something because it's like it might even be bigger than this. I don't know, you know? So that's something that I could do this month, I guess. Have a big, giant sun mandala in my living room. I'll take pictures and share. The only pictures I have of it right now are like it's like spread out on the floor as much as I can get it spread out on the floor, but it'll truly look good when it's like suspended in the hoop. And I have to make my own custom hoop because it's so much bigger than just a regular hula hoop. Like I have made a mandala before that I just captured in a regular hula hoop from Walmart, but yeah, this one that I made is way too big, and I will most certainly have to, I have some tubing that I'm gonna like heat up the ends and then put them together and like try to figure out exactly what size it needs to be in order for it to go in, like in order for it to, like the mandala to be stretched across it the correct amount. It's going to be a huge project that I am not entirely sure how to undertake, but you fucking do it one step at a time. That's what you do. You do it one step at a time. I'm running out of things to say. I'm like looking around a little bit. Like, is there anything else exciting that has happened this week? Anything that's worth talking about? Probably. I could probably dig for more politics shit to talk about, but like my favorite parts of stream are when we just talk about nonsense. I just don't have very much nonsense to talk about because I feel bad and therefore have been engaging in far fewer shenanigans. I need to engage in more shenanigans so that I have more shenanigans to talk about. I have to go on like a 4-hour hike so that I have 45 minutes of content to talk about. And then like I need to read a book every week so that I can waste an hour talking about every book that I've read every week. Ooh, that's good news. Mersh says, I'm up for a job interview next week. It is a scientific and academic position uh, that would pay significantly more than my last job if I were to get it. Hell yes. I'm excited for you, Mersh. I'm actually, I don't know if you've been here recently, Mersh, which is fine. I know you're busy. But I have been applying for jobs at nonprofits to do like social media management because I obviously have a lot of experience in social media management. I would love to work at an environmental nonprofit. So that's kind of, I've applied to 2 of them recently, and I'm interested to see if I hear back from either one. They're, with nonprofits, especially nonprofits with small teams, you won't hear back unless they actually choose to move forward with you. Oof. Got my old job back, but lost my girlfriend in the same week. Yeah. Ooh. Thank you, In a Box. A $50 donation from In a Box, who said, I'm not watching right now, but have some money anyway. Damn. Just dropping in to like drop $50 and then leave. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I was about to be like, oh, is this about to be a stream that's going to end with me having only made $5? That shit happens sometimes. But I appreciate that I didn't have to do that because I'm kind of starting to be like, should I even still stream, or I'm kind of running out of energy, but book talks. Yeah, so I do think I might just go ahead and like see how it works. If I delete maybe I'll just pick like 10 videos, like 10 videos of mine from the past. Maybe I'll just choose ones from last year only, like 10 videos from last year that are not trans related, and upload them to my other channel and see if they perform okay, or like see if I can start building a new audience. And that's probably just gonna, I'm just probably gonna do that on Musing Moss, like, which is my former Let's Play channel. It currently has like 300 subscribers, and I'm just like, yeah, what if I just try to build a new audience not talking about trans stuff? And let me just take some videos from the past year and just re-upload them somewhere else. Because the really annoying thing is, like, I can't just upload the same video to 2 channels and see how it works out, because whichever one uploads second is going to be depromoted because it's stealing content from the original channel. There's no way for me to, even if I manage both channels, YouTube still does that, which is weird. So, like, One Oasis Left has more subscribers, but I was just gonna post garden stuff there, so I don't know. I'll just do it on Musing Moss and see how it turns out. We did surpass 50 likes today, which I appreciate. It's always nice to get to 69, but I don't know that we're going to at this point. All right, everybody. I know this is a little shorter than usual, but I don't want to push it and have my voice really hurting tomorrow. I can already tell that it's quite sensitive, and I keep having to let allergens in my house so that it doesn't get too hot in here. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a little early today. I am still planning to see you all on Wednesday this week. Continue to check out the episodes of the podcast if you want to see me talk about Star Trek movies with my friends Gayfesh and Demon Mama. And I am not going to be on Takis this week, so I'll see you Wednesday, and then the next time I'll see you, it'll be Pride, the first day of Pride, next Sunday, first day of Pride. I feel like not that long ago you were often getting around 100 likes. Yes, I was. And I think that was because of politicizing my existence. I think that the only times that I get a huge number of viewers is when I have some kind of massive clickbait politics title. And so, yeah, now I'm almost deliberately making my audience smaller by titling things like, yeah, I just worked out and I'm sweaty, let's chit chat. Like, yeah, I'm almost trying to indicate that I don't plan on talking about serious politics issues in that same way anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm deliberately kneecapping myself in some ways. And yeah, I just divert my attention into another channel. I don't know, whatever. Trying to get a real job. So, yeah. Anyway, love you guys, and I will see you next time. Probably.